fact, they've done exactly the opposite, but yet every mammal on this planet has a gene that gets turned on by UV light.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's do another hard stop. We know it's on the exterior. You can see it in you. You can see it in me. I'm out here now. Don't mammals have melanin inside them?
Yes.
Isn't that a disease called Parkinson's disease? The substantia nigra. Nigra means dark.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because this thing is black in the middle of your brain. So you got to ask yourself, if you have melanin inside of you, it means two things. Either the sun penetrates all the way down into those spots, or might we make our own light? And it turns out both of those things are true.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're not well known in centralized medicine, but they're extremely well known in decentralized biophysics journals. And
Mm-hmm.
it's been known since about 1923, which is why I told Huberman the first paper he should read before he does anything is the onion root experiment of Alexander Gurwitch. And then eventually, where that'll crash at the end is in the work of Fritz Popp, who showed that every living thing emits biophotons. And it turns out, if you read Roland Van Wyck's book, he has scientists from all over the world that have been studying this. They have found that biophotons seem to come from mitochondrial metabolism. So now, when you open up a book and you remember who were the architects of biochemistry, you'll find out another guy was given a Nobel Prize in 1937. His name's Albert St. Georgi. And he got a Nobel Prize for the Krebs cycle or the TCA cycle, even though his science was wrong. One of the things that he said that earned him the Nobel Prize, in my view, is that he told medical students from 37 to 41 that if you look at the products of DNA, which are proteins, proteins all look like they have an electronic structure. Therefore, at the core, life should be a semiconductor.
Mm-hmm.
Hard stop. What do we now know in 2023? We know that water is a semiconductor. Hard stop. What else do we know? Melanin is a semiconductor.
Yeah.
So is chlorophyll. So is hemoglobin. So is bone. It's now been proven. But guess what? You won't find that in your biochemistry book. Because guess what? If you knew that, you might start to say, well, why am I taking drugs and I'm not using light to try to fix my problems? Well, it's pretty simple. The reason why, because you can't patent light.
Exactly.
There's
Yeah.
your answer.
I love that. There's this quote that you shared. I don't know if it was in a talk you gave or in a Patreon post, but all cause mortality is made light. Is this because of melatonin suppression?
Well, it's due to a lot of things. I would tell you it's due to all the systems in the body because they're all working in unison in decentralized fashion. But
Mm-hmm.
where that quote came from, that is a compilation of a paper that was written in 2016 from Sweden, where they did a meta-analysis that showed that a lack of sun is worse than smoking cigarettes for your health. Hard stop. Think
Yeah.
about what the study has done. Sweden, high latitude, and yet the effect still showed up in their meta-analysis. And part of the reason why this is important for centralized scientists to realize is that Sweden, for literally 130 years, has the best records, medical records, in all of the world, especially in Europe. So we can go back and look at their data pretty well, and you'll notice that melanoma and skin cancers didn't cease to be a real big problem until we started using sunblock and sunglasses
Mm-hmm.
in the 40s. And then things started to spike. And why is that important? What did I tell you is the main stimulant to POMC? UV light.
Oh yeah, correct.
UV light. So when you start blocking UV light, can you make melanin? The
No.
answer is no. And guess what? The architects that were building big pharma back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, they actually knew this. That's the reason why this idea came in. And they started looking for reasons to bury sunlight as a source of treatment. Most people, I mean, before I started talking about it, um, they didn't even know that Finson won a Nobel Prize at the turn of the century for the treatment of UV light and pemphigus vulgaris and tuberculosis. But it's true. The problem is Nobody goes back and looks at the old data. Nobody goes back and read. Nobody thinks. The sine qua non of centralized healthcare is it's recipe medicine. We don't want you to think. Just do what the fuck we tell you to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And that's kind of what you saw during COVID too.
Mm-hmm.
Just sit back, watch your Netflix, get your government checks, but roll your sleeve up.
Yeah. You talk a lot about grounding. It's huge. A lot of people call me crazy for telling them to go ground. But it makes sense evolutionarily. So why do you think this topic is so overlooked?
All right, let's talk about this. So you see that we're on my roof, right?
Yes.
Take a look at what's below me. Do you see something?
Grass.
Yeah, I'm on the roof grounding.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine that? And I'm in UV light on December 10th. It's 97 degrees here, no humidity. You can see the wind blowing in the trees. It doesn't feel hot up here at all,
Mm-hmm.
but I got no shoes on and I'm on my roof grounding. In fact, this is the first podcast that I've done from the roof of the new place in El Salvador. This is where I plan to do most of my podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Grounding is huge. Why is it a big deal for humans versus, say, other mammals? We are the silly talking monkey in the primate group that has altered eccrine glands and apocrine glands on our body so that they're present in our hands and our feet. So you probably know about that other crazy saying that I talk about, that I want you to make like the Sphinx every morning,
Mm-hmm.
look to the east and ground with all four extremities. When you make sweat here, provides a better connection to the earth. So what's the physics of grounding? Very simple. The sun is a cathode ray. The solar wind hits the planets act as anodes. Anytime a cathode ray hits an anode, what does it make on the surface? Free electrons. You have a bigger connection with the anode, you absorb more of those electrons. What did we just say 15 minutes ago about chlorophyll and melanin? One makes 2 electrons, the other one makes 4. If you have 4, you can be more complex. Do you think you can run this Ferrari engine in your head if you had sweat glands on your hands and feet better than, say, chimps or monkeys?